Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we're going to be starting a series of videos soon called Ask the FFL, where we're going to be going through ATF's new proposed rules on firearms with attached stabilizing braces and try to figure out what the hell does this all really mean to us? In the meantime, there has been a question which has been popping up quite a bit. It has to do with micro conversion kits and what effect does ATF's new proposed rule on stabilizing braces have on those? I think it's an excellent question, one which I think there's a pretty clear answer to right now. So let's spend a few minutes and talk about, does the ATF's new rule on stabilizing braces spell the end of micro conversion kits? Okay, so the issue we're talking about today is ATF's new proposed rule 2021-R08, or better known as their new rules on firearms with attached stabilizing braces. Now, again, just to give you quickly up to speed, rule was published, rule was pulled back. Rule's going to be republished in December. What does that mean? Rule becomes effective for all of us in April of 23. What that new rule looks like, what the new $49.99 looks like, is anybody's guess. So I am going on what the previous rule and current version of $49.99 says. But the issue for today is does ATF's new rule on firearms with attached stabilizing braces spell the end of micro conversion kits? And the short answer is I believe it does. Okay, some of you may be wondering what the hell is a micro conversion kit, and candidly, if you don't know what one is, it means you probably don't own one, and this video is not going to be that informational to you, but I digress. What is a micro conversion kit? A micro conversion kit is a kit that serves to make a handgun more accurate at longer range. The kit's comprised of a carbine assembly that your handgun can be mounted into. Once the firearm is mounted, it can be held and stabilized like a traditional carbine, which allows for greater accuracy. What it essentially is an insert that you can place your pistol or semi-automatic handgun into, allow yourself to shoulder it, stabilize it, and yes, you become far more proficient, far more accurate at longer ranges. It absolutely, without a question, makes you more proficient and effective in the use of the firearm. However, as we know, ATF is under the opinion that any firearm with a barrel that's less than 16 inches is far more dangerous than a firearm that happens to have a barrel which is 16 inches or more. And they are cracking down on what they are perceiving, what we call as AR pistols. They're saying, no, they are short barrel rifles. So the question is, how do these micro conversion kits fit into ATF's new rule? And in particular, how do they fit when we score them on ATF's Form 4999? Now, for those of you who have not geeked out enough on that, ATF's Form 4999 is the form that ATF will use to determine whether or not a firearm is actually an AR pistol or short barrel rifle. Of course, you fall into the latter category. Congratulations, you have options now. That is, forfeit the firearm, destroy the firearm, or register the firearm and pay your $200 tax stamp, compliments of your United States government. Okay, so like I said, the two criteria by which you can get instantly disqualified is the weight of the firearm and the length of the firearm. Because if your firearm weighs less than 64 ounces, you are immediately disqualified. And if your firearm is not at least 12 inches in length, you are automatically disqualified. What's the reasoning? Well, according to ATF, their reasoning is as follows. As a preliminary factor when evaluating a submitted sample, certain prerequisites will be applied to determine if the firearm will even be considered as a possible pistol or immediately determined to be a rifle as defined by the applicable statutes. As discussed, stabilizing braces were originally marketed as intended to assist persons with disabilities and others lacking sufficient grip strength to control heavier pistols. Therefore, attaching a stabilizing brace to a typical pistol where no assistance is necessary, or attaching one to a firearm so heavy or difficult to control that one-handed shooting is impractical or inaccurate, regardless of the manufacturer's stated intent, will change the design of the firearm into a rifle intended to be fired from the shoulder. Indeed, the purported stabilizing brace would have no design function other than to facilitate the firing of the weapon from the shoulder. Okay, and so what ATF is saying here is, listen, if your firearm is less than 64 ounces, or as we put it another way, less than 4 pounds, you don't need a stabilizing brace, okay? That's what they're saying. Now, apparently all of us are fitting into the same, we're all square pegs fitting into the same square hole, because this is ATF's determination for everybody. And I do not happen to see an exception in here for those who would be covered under the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, but I digress. So if we have a firearm, if we're going to take our Glock 19 and want to put it into a micro conversion kit, hey, listen, Glock 19 is going to probably come in at a little less than 2 pounds. You're nowhere close to that 64-ounce threshold. Your firearm is, if it's placed into a micro conversion kit, is immediately going to be deemed a short-barreled rifle. Now, the firearm also has a certain length. It must be at least 12 inches, but no more than 26 inches, okay? And so if you have a firearm, a Glock 19, Glock 43X, you know, Smith & Wesson, M&P, whatever, I can assure you that none of those are going to come in with an overall length of more than 12 inches. They're going to be under a foot in length. The minute you add that to a micro conversion kit, the firearm is less than 12 inches, and therefore you now have a short barrel rifle. What ATF is also saying is if it's longer than 26 inches under their everybody's a square peg that's going to go into a square hole analogy, that firearm is just far too long to properly hold and stabilize with only one arm, despite that we're not taking into account a person's physical stature or strength or things such as that. So the bottom line is this when it comes to these micro conversion kits, okay? Any handgun that you insert into one of these, in all likelihood, is going to weigh less than 64 ounces. And for that reason and that reason alone, we immediately have a short barrel rifle. If by chance it happens to weigh over 64 ounces, unless its length is somewhere between 12 and 26 inches, highly unlikely for just about any modern semi-automatic handgun, you then also have a short barrel rifle. So the bottom line is this: if the firearm's less than 64 ounces, if the firearm is less than 12 inches, those are the types of guns that we're likely to put in a micro conversion kit. That is a short barrel rifle. That is why I believe that when this rule is published, if it remains in its current format, the end of micro conversion kits is nearly upon us. Listen, in the meantime, you may have more questions about this or anything else related to Form 4999. And remember, we will be having a whole new video series starting next week called Ask the FFL, and we will be going through Form 4473 and 4999 component by component, trying to get all of us to have a better understanding of what the hell this really means to us. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, remember, you can always contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Now, let's remember, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.